Good morning,
Namaste.
good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world at this moment that we are sharing in this impossible domain of technology. So welcome, 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 and namaste. So I am so delight to be here right at this moment. We'll see how well I contain it.
Usually me.
Yeah, that's right. Keep the time thing going. Um, we're entering into a domain with the work that's taking us into the field, the domain of the universal forces. And our ability to open to them, experience them, both the dark and the light, the high and the low, are actually evidence that our nature is moving out of its individual bubble into its universal nature. And for many of us, this is experienced when our awakening happens. And as most of you know, awakening has the good parts and the bad parts, right? Sometimes awakening is awakening to the bad parts, and it's horrific. And sometimes it's awakening to the good parts, and it's absolutely wonderful and where you want to be forever. Why it's one or the other? It depends what's left in our individuality. It's the content of the shroud that we carry, and we all carry various layers of shrouds. And these are subtle. These are the subtle aspects that are actually here with us in our physicality, and it's there in our thoughts, and it's there in our emotions, it's there in our sensations. We think we're the ones that are having the thought, the feeling, the sensation. But it's an ocean in which you are the vessel getting overtaken by currents coming this way or that way through each of these domains. These domains are organized around your body. Your body is the only place where the universe can be known. If you can get that, you're free. You're free to come into the recognition of what you are as a universal being. Now, of course, these are glimpses, because every one of our bodies are embodied. And the body itself is made of a bunch of stuff, physically, right? Unpleasant, unattractive stuff that's going on all the time. We really don't want to know about it, We enjoy the food, and then after that, we don't want to know about it. Or when it leaves, after that, we don't want to know about it. You see it floating in the toilet bowl, right? The whole thing is that the body is a miracle. It's not just a miracle because of its biological functions, which came through the evolutionary process of all the species, of all the forms of life that have ever been created, are what make up your body. And at the universal level, it's the debris from exploding stars billions and billions and billions of years ago, bombarding this planet, accumulating, mixing in with water and chemicals and matter, and that created life, and out of life came all of this. And our bodies is the record of it. So we're automatically born as in shrouds. We're born when we take a body out of the womb of our mother through an organic process that's been going on for millions of years. We're not immune to this when we take a body. The only thing is, we are able to be aware that we have taken a body. We are able, even if nothing else but through our intelligence, to be aware that we have a body rather than we are a body. And this is one of the times of education and modern education that exposed us to so many different understandings, where there is now something of a distinction between me and our body. This distinction is enhanced when the me, when the I, when the person, the self-aware person, wakes up. When they awaken spiritually, they begin to tap into different frequencies, and it begins to come in without as much density in the filter of our physical body, which includes our emotions, our reactions, our wants, our needs, our fears, our thoughts, our beliefs, our ideas of ourselves, the history of our own particular trauma, our own particular periods of success and accomplishment. When all those are no longer filtering through our sensations, our feelings, our sensations, our emotions, our drives, and our thoughts, what comes is a different capacity to perceive, to experience. This is the beginning of individual awakening, where we begin to recognize that I'm having an emotion. I am angry, or I'm passionately committed, or I'm any of these other things, rather than I am the passion, I am the rage, which would be the normal outcome of not having the perspective, not having the vantage point to know these are arising in you and they are not you. This is the fundamentals. And of course, you can speak to this to a normal human being who is not awakened, and maybe they're interested, and mostly they won't be, and even if they were, they forget it. Because that's the nature of the veil. We're totally habituated each day, each morning, to whatever our embodiment is as a physical human being in life and all that it means. So that's our predicament. Now there comes a time when you awaken where, of course, you begin to have that space and you notice, wow, this thought is creating so much suffering. I'm trying to meditate and yet it won't shut up. It's going and going, and I threw all my techniques and it just seems to be going and going until you recognize it's not you who's having the thoughts. It's thoughts happening. And that when you meditate, you come into a place other than the thought. Now that's the beginning of an introduction of being able to discover how your body is the link, the component between earth and heaven. When this awakens in us, we can begin to hear, to feel, to sense, to know the celestial song. It'll strike us, come into us in an immediacy, in a gestalt all at once, and then we'll be like awe. And in that moment, what's happening is you're accessing your own existence. And you're tapping in that moment your relationship to all the subtle domains of existence that are here simultaneously with us in a body. But we are scared to them, habituated by our fears, our drives, our endless activities, our endless distractions. So we don't even have the time to sit still long enough so that sense of being able to hear the song can arise. It'll always arise in those moments of empty, relaxed stillness. That's a cleaning of the palate of our subtle body, so that even the human body can begin to feel the resonance of these subtle forces that surround us. Now, this is an abstraction. This is actually a measure of your awakening. Can you feel it? Or, if nothing else, when you are aware of it, when you recognize, I am not my thoughts, are you aware of the state you're in when that comes to you? And if you are, if you say, wow, look at that. What does that feel like? Pay attention, because your body is learning to know how to hear the song of the heavens and the gods, even if it's only through the awareness. And we can develop our awareness. I mean, we can really grow in our sensitivity. We could spend years in meditation, years in the rigor of pulling away from the outer distractions and simplifying our life. And we could come to this kind of pristine, subtle appreciation of the wonders of existence, not getting overtaken like we used to, being able to step back and witness the process that's going on in us and not project it as much. These are all signs, indications that our body is beginning to link with the subtle domains of existence. The body has a direct resonance to what we experience in consciousness, be it in our awareness or in any other way. It begins to resonate. That means it begins to receive a quality of existence, of energy, that is outside of the domain of where the body normally draws its energy. Food, enjoyable interactions in the world, with relationships, with adventure and travel, or with hope and aspiration, or whatever may be the normal occupations of your body. This starts awakening a new subtle vibrations in the body. What this does, it has you develop less interest in the things that otherwise occupied you when you were completely in the programming and the identity of your shroud. And I say shrouds because there are many. Tomorrow we'll talk about piercing the veil. It's really about piercing the veils. But the shrouds that encase us lose interest the more we awaken to the immediacy of our own existence, even in awareness. So where before we might take effort to control our diet or effort to exercise, and rather something else comes forward and we want to meditate, we want to exercise, we want to come into life in ways that are aligned with this emerging consciousness. Now that is happening because our body also holds an organization of our consciousness called the psychic being, and it is interimly the knower of ourself. It is the one that knows it exists. It is in the Gita, in the first 6 chapters, the journey to the self. And you find this psychic being when you rest in silence and stillness. And the nature of the self, the psychic self, is at peace, relaxed, quiet. And that is our beginning point. That's where we begin to tap into that subtle quality of awareness, of beingness that we are. And that is what prepares our system for opening to the universal forces. Becoming established in that is a wonder in itself. When the psychic being comes forward in our personality, instead of all the other stuff of our content, we discover greater freedom, greater relaxation, a more positive attitude, a more willingness, a greater understanding and recognition of what's happening, and a greater ownership about your part and how your life is showing up for you. You gain some mastery. You pull back from the things in life you're not yet ready to be with. You organize your life in ways that are more in harmony in this emerging quietude and peace and relaxation. Yet this is just the preparation. But in that preparation, the body is being prepared. It's being purified by the vibration of your psychic being. It's being lifted up in its vibration. In a subtle ways, it's listening to the song of the universe through our individual psychic being. And we're nurtured by this. And we find ourselves more able to meet the challenges of our life and all the other wonderful things that come with individual awakening. But today we're going to talk about universal awakening. The Bhagavad Gita talks about this transition between the 6th and the 7th chapter, the 6th chapter being the yoga meditation, where meditation is no longer an effort, it's something that's happening naturally to you. You're being meditated. The nature of one who's in the 6th chapter is you can't go and live life as you have because this meditative quality comes forward and you can't think, can't function. You got no motive because it keeps calling you back to itself. So it brings about this natural preparation, this capacity to receive, to sense a subtler sense, to feel a subtler feel, to know in a different way than the way we've known before. And out of this quality of sensation and feeling and knowingness, you can sometimes hear the songs of the heavens. Maybe you hear someone chanting a mantra. And there's something in you that says, yes, not knowing what the yes is or why. But the body is the moment of being struck by the vibrational frequency of that mantra. What feels that, what knows it, is because your body is like a very sensitive instrument if it's purified from its content, if it's flush clean. And it becomes like a drum, an ear drum, but a being drum. When the mantra sings, it goes, it responds. This is actually the evidence of the possibility of the unfolding of your physical body as a vessel and as a means of knowing your universal nature. So this is happening to many of you. I believe that anyone who's listening to this is because to some extent their psychic body, or psychic being, is pulled, knowingly or not, to this possibility that we're discussing and we're bringing forward today. And that there is a sensational event occurring for you in your body as you listen to this, as you receive this. So it's good to pay attention right now to the vibrational field that's there in your body. See if you're up here, see if you're here, or see if you're in your belly, or see if your body is talking to you vibrationally. Now, as I go forward, hold on to this sense of yourself as a subtle being resonating to something that is universal. Each of us receive what we can. So to whatever extent you can or can't, it's fine, it's where you are, and you need to be there, because maybe you're much more capable in other moments in your life or in other circumstances. But it is evidence that you're accessing another resource that goes beyond what's normally available to human beings on this planet, that gives you, empowers you, and actually sets in motion real physical changes. Your biochemistry starts changing. The electromagnetic field of your brainwaves start changing. You feel different. You see life, others, and yourself from a different place. You're getting a way of knowing in a new way. Of course, then you forget it. Then you get caught up in your current issue. It doesn't have any strength or much strength to hold when we get activated. So that's how it is. In order for it to get strength, that means your individual attention has to be directed to that quality of yourself. And you have to be willing and open to call it in again and again, even when you're in your moments of being overtaken. And that's when the universe starts helping you and coming out of the shrouds that your body is habituated to, and it begins to awaken your subtle energetic bodies. These are physical, these are vital, these are mental, and they are in the intellect as forms of brilliant intuition and clarity and discernment. Any or all of these will come, one first, then the other. They will be in different sequences, and they will come and go in different orders, not just like that. But one of the measures that indicates that you've crossed a point, a threshold point, from your individual nature into your universal nature is when the heart opens. When the heart chakra opens up, then the struggle from the from the lower chakras and the obscurities that are still there from the upper chakras start becoming clearer. They start to lose their authority. And from the heart, other parts of our subtle self begins to move into alignment with one great truth, and that is unconditional love. When we become out of the shroud of our individual nature, then all those substitutes for love, our addictions, our obsessions, our worries, they are substitutes, negative or positive. All that craving, all that wanting, all those things you keep wishing for, all your hopes, fade away. Because you're meeting that which fulfills all of them. But you have to be in your subtle physical body to receive this. And then from there, it goes into your physical matter. It starts permeating into the vibration of your cells. It begins to set in motion a transmutation, a shifting in the organization of the habit of each cell, of each neuron, of each biochemical reaction. It will go this way instead of its usual way of that way. It begins to change you. You become a different kind of physical being, and thereby your personality changes. You begin to start radiating in a way that others who are open to it can get a sense of. They'll want to be with you. They will feel something when they're with you. They may think it's because you're going to be my next lover, or they may think it's because you're a good friend, or may they not know why, they just wish to be with you. And they'll ask you questions, and they'll open up and share the secrets of their lives, because finally they have it listening for that which they haven't themselves been able to bring into existence enough to recognize their role and why it's there. You become a healing agency. Now, for some of you, you go into the energetic healing arts. You start directing your attention as a means of going in and feeling the people's systems you're working on. You're doing that from your subtle energetic body. You're actually doing that for the healers that have a direct effect on the physical body. In all the fields, they are in their subtle physical body at the moment they are healing you. They are tapping into that access of the healing forces in the collective consciousness, which the World Mother put in place to assist humanity to survive the ordeal of their embodiment. And they have a role to play. So it's happening. And then, if you're open to them, if you put aside the skeptical mind or the suspicion or the comparisons or the judgments, then you can receive those universal forces through that person. And of course, you'll think it's the person who's doing it, but if the person is truly aligned with their subtle self, they'll know it's something coming through them. That's evidence of the universal forces, being able to come from the heavens and the gods and the beings and forces that are here in the domain of supporting humanity in its evolutionary movements. This has been true throughout time. There have always been the healers. There have always been the wise men. There have always been the shamans, the ones who have a mysterious magical power in them, where they can appear to you as an eagle. a deer, a luminous light, an angel. In those moments, you're receiving glimpses of what you are as a subtle, energetic being. So I hope these words are helping you, support you in understanding the nature of where you are. To know that these glimpses are actually evidence that your body is the only place in the universe where you can actually directly and fully receive what the universe has to offer. Now, in the Bhagavad Gita, I'll just read one verse. And this is in the 9th chapter, which is Yoga of Royal Knowledge and Royal Secret. Mm-hmm. To you, the uncaviling, which means to you who can hear this, I shall teach this supreme secret knowledge, along with the process of realizing it, which will enable you to be free from both good and evil, free of both good and evil, free of duality, free of the domain of evaluations, comparisons, judgments, victims and victimizers, and shame and anger. This is royal knowledge and royal secret. It's not apparent. People don't recognize that they're already being run by subtle universal forces in either and any of these good or bad domains of vibrations that may come from the universal. Secret, supremely holy, directly experienced, and full of virtue, easy to practice, and imperishable. So the nature of the subtle world is, as we would say, virtuous. That there are components in the subtle world that are not. But the vast majority brings forward that principle we would call good or virtue. Something that lifts us into a new way of being that allows us to appreciate the miracle of our existence. Now, what he's saying here is this is royal knowledge that's easy to get, directly experienced. And what allows us to do that is our body is the keeper of all experience. So when our body experiences this secret knowledge, it can remember it in a way that our mind won't be able to, or our emotional nature won't be able to, at least at first, or our lower nature would even be able to recognize or deal with at first. But if our psychic being is forward, if that part of the truth, the eternal quality of our own self-existent existence is forward, it will remember it, and it will long for more. It will cry for more. Because it's from this point that devotion comes into existence. The longing for that which has shown itself but is not yet here. When we are in devotion, we are sacred. In that moment, our being is in the relationship with its vast truth, its greater beingness. It's empowered. It drinks a nectar of itself to the experience of the recognition of that piece of the song that it can now receive. It's the body that allows devotion. The Maha Ananda which also can be an I, then can start manifesting herself. Ananda is an event that happens in duality, that brings the end of duality. Ananda awakens in us the call of the soul for the supreme. And if allowed to come into existence, if supported through our conscious collaboration, we move into these greater and greater states, coming out of our individual openness and capacities into a capacity to receive more and more of the universe, bringing us, nurturing us, carrying us beyond the limitations of our individual identity, but also our share of the collective identity, taking us into the domains of the subtle world, showing us the truth of our nature. And in this thrallment, it's two ways. Not only are we in devotion to that greater thing, the greater thing, God, truth, supreme being, moves into devotion with us. And it's that which then overtakes the effort of our collaboration. It's that which motivates to give ourselves up, to surrender, to let go, to go beyond ourselves. It's that which empowers us and, be clear, sets in motion a transformational process like nothing else could have happened previously, that will have all the parts of your ego that are still laying claim scream and yell and outrage and repulsion and rebellion. Sorry, but that is the nature of the ultimate path of devotion, of the Maha Ananda. It takes us beyond those dualities. It takes us into that primal, original condition of our own existence that can only fulfill itself as each of us in our own individual journey. So it's good to check in with yourself right now and see what you're experiencing. See if you're experiencing the resistance or the obscuration or the delight. Or maybe it's just curiosity. Or maybe it's the judgment or projection or fear. Maybe it's ecstasy. Maybe there's nothing you can say or evaluate at this moment. There's just an immediacy of now and the presence that is with you. Any and all. The nature of opening up to the song of the universe is such that it arises after moments of great suffering. It often arises after we have cleared the remaining territory of the shroud of our individuality. And then that creates space for the devotion to enter more fully into your system. I was on the beach yesterday, and a friend of mine, who I've known, Satsang, I've known him and his wife before my awakening, years and years. And he was a devotee of Adida. Both of them were for periods of time, but we met them after they had moved back to the United States. But he kept up his practices, and he was there with me when my awakening had happened. And he was one of the early people I shared it with. And he's the one who invited me into his little meditation room where he did his chants. And when I entered into that meditation room, I was overwhelmed by a bliss, a tangible, physical Ananda like I have never experienced in my life up at that point. It was absolutely captivating. And he was there with that. And at the same time, Sri Atmananda had just come to the United States for the first time. I was in my first 9 months after my first awakening. And I was in the field of Sri Atmananda. And what I sensed in one was a glimpse of the ultimate fulfillment of devotion. And the other was a path to that. One was truth, and the other was a dependency that would have sucked me into an enthrallment, which I knew in my own nature, my own addictive nature, I would have a very hard time coming out of. Now, how did I know that? I don't know how I know that. I did have Mara Baba as my teacher before. I did have this recognition of the different subtle plane forces. When I was 19, from the age of 19 to about 24, I was informed of the nature of the universal, even though I didn't have any awareness of experience of that. And it was only grace that allowed me to choose Sri Atmananda. But it's interesting because down the road, after my good friend had met me, he went back to Adida. And he became one of his high priests. And for years and years, he was the head priest of one of his facilities in Kauai, in Hawaii. And he would chant all the time. He would evoke Adida all the time. He was in the enthrallment of the universal energies all the time, 24 hours a day. And he did it in service to those who would come and stay. He was a true devotee. So it's been a long time since we've met. We've met a number of times. One of the times, actually, he arranged for me to meet Adida as an emissary of Sri Atmananda. And I went and met Adida in person, carrying some gifts from my teacher. And both Satyamai and I experienced the enthrallment of his energy. It was just like extraordinary at the time. It was complete universal transmission that went into your bodies. And we were in a room with like 60, 70 people, and he came in and sat there. He would look at the room from this side to that side, and I'm sitting there. We're about a little past halfway, and we're watching people just explode as he looks at them. It's like a tidal wave was coming. And when it hit us, it was like a tidal wave hit us too. It was complete ecstasy. Who would ever want to leave that? Right? That's called Yoga Maya, by the way. Because it doesn't last. Because it's not yours yet. It's an addiction of a subtle energy, universal energy. And I mean, who can blame anybody for that one? Because, I mean, you're going to be a wonderful kind of vessel while that goes on. And should any of you who would want that have that, then I hope that is what you get. But be clear, it's not the end of the journey. Because as soon as you drop your body, it won't be there. As soon as he drops his body, it'll fade away and disappear. Because it's not yet yours.
Well, he did drop his body.
And, you know, lots went. But what he did do is leave behind many people continued to chant. And that carried some aspect, just as all spiritual transmitters in time. Temples throughout India are the remnants of truly realized beings, and you can actually feel the vibration. Ramana Maharishi in Tiruvannamalai, where our India course is happening, you can tangibly feel his energy in his meditation hall. Still there because people are keeping it alive. But in itself, it doesn't take you to the fullness of what you are as an individual in a direct and immediate link with these universal principles. And of course, that was the purpose of the Gita. It was to take Arjuna beyond devotion. But first, he had to know devotion. And in the 9th chapter was the entry place into the 11th chapter where he merged. And he was horrified and overwhelmed and terrified with what it was that he had once called his friend and who was currently his cheerleader. until he said, enough, I can't take any more, because he wasn't ready. But it was enough because he was showing Arjuna how to become Krishna. And from that chapter on, 12th chapter on, he took that glimpse and made it a means of empowering Arjuna to become an embodied vessel for his Krishna's manifestation. And this is the path I teach. But I wanted to stay with the fact that we're all in this opportunity with our embodiment. How lucky you are to have a body. How lucky you are to be out of the circumstances that would otherwise distract you or overtake you, or not able to, even if you could show up, hear this or receive this. How blessed are you already? Because you're already blessed. Now we have to get over ourselves to get that, but the principle behind it is that the essential quality of the purity of what we are is sacred. Moving into relationship with that allows you to recognize the sacredness that is everywhere. And how can you do a wrong action from that vantage point? How can you do harm in the recognition of the possibility of the sacredness and the miracle of being able to know that sacredness that you are already? There's nothing to get, nothing to earn, nothing to deserve. Nothing is missing. See, I couldn't contain it. I couldn't just talk about the subtle energetic body. I couldn't talk about the first chakra and the second chakra and the third chakra and the fourth chakra and the fifth chakra and the sixth chakra and so on and so forth. I have others who do this, by the way, who do a really good job at it. And they'll teach you the technique, and if you're ready, your chakra will open and you will feel it in your own body, and you will begin to attune your body to the universal forces. It's just very simple. I'm not the only one that teaches this. Many, many, many have taught this. The thing that's different is that the supreme force has come to the planet. The thing that's different is the incarnation forces here. So everything in the spiritual domain is more effective. It's more capable of landing. It's more accessible to humanity as long as this force is here. And this is here because, we don't do something, it's going to be the end of the world and humanity. So it's clearly an intervention force. And what it's doing, it's waking us up to the battle. And it's accelerating our ability to be engaged in the battle within ourselves. And therefore, naturally, it's awakening. See, my awakening and my experience, I'm one who became liberated while living. So there is this freedom, absolute freedom and wonder and fulfillment and completion. I didn't want to do this. I recognized, I said, what got me to do this? And I was meeting with Sri Atmananda not long after I had moved to Olympia, after I'd come back from all my years in India. And I was meeting him up in Silver City, right up there in that funky little ashram of his. And I talked to him, we had met, we kind of talked business and talked about everything. And and then when he was leaving, he said, oh, and you need to find the 11 other realized beings. What? I thought you were doing that. And then he didn't say anything, he walked away. I realized he planted in me the seed of this. Because I was perfectly happy to live in Olympia in that little apartment above the daycare center. I did not have to go anywhere. I didn't have to do anything. Any little thing that was happening was a wonder wherever I went. And I realized, that son of a bitch, he injected in me this thing. So I'm not here from any design I carry, but through him and through my devotion to him and through my surrender to him, and even though our relationship merged and completed, he still had a powerful impact. He was showing me the way. And from that came New Dharma, and from that came all this. I don't have any claim to this. I'm not even here as a, I mean, you once said, the person, Scott Barber, is being dragged along and is often very, very uncomfortable and sick and with all kinds of conditions that rises up and all kinds of collective issues and personal issues and attacks and things like that. I don't need this. Yet I do it anyway. But I do it anyway because I recognize that if not me, who? And we should say that for each of us. Not me, who? Who's going to live this life? Who's going to step in? Who's going to intervene? Who's going to play the part that needs to be played? Now, if you've opened to the universe, when the body becomes the link, and you can begin to feel the song, and the current starts coming to you, it brings this purpose. It brings this sense of resolve, like no matter what. It's because you're on the battlefield, and you recognize what opposes the possibility of humanity. And you can feel it happen, and you can feel it in your whole body, and you can recognize it before it comes, without knowing how you know. You know, and I know, we're on a battlefield right now. We did chapter 19 last year, Becoming Krishna. We did the Gita, the global training program, where we're talking about universalization. Everything we do is to have you become a universal being, to join in the labor of manifesting a new possibility for humanity. And what is that specific labor? Well, we'll talk about it more tomorrow in the intensive, of how it works, how energy is felt when it first comes. What does the doorway look like? That absolutely is clear, not one you want to go through. Or you're unwilling or unable to even see that it's a doorway. So there are many aspects, the positive that support you, the awakening of your system through the chakra techniques and the elemental techniques. There is the exposure to the teachings and the transmission, the understanding of the context that gives you another paradigm than the one you were born into or habituated to or came to in the course of your life up to now. It's opening a doorway to recognize that what's going on this planet Earth is perhaps, certainly as far as my experience is, the greatest battle of humanity. The forces that resist truth versus truth. The forces that bring us into oneness and the forces that oppose. This is the greatest battle of all time. And it's also, as long as there's an earth, a timeless battle. When we die, there is no battle. It's over. Without a body, we have no engagement. We're forced into the audience. You can be in there in the subtle world, but even that will fade away because the body is the only thing that linked you to this time, to this place, to this world. It'll fade away without it being reinforced by the body. The body is the only thing that holds. It holds your awakening. It holds your experiences. It holds your story. It might be in the brain. It could be in the heart. It could be in the cells. It could be in the gut. Your body is the vehicle. It's the record. And it's only in the body that you remember you were once in a body before. Without a body, you will eventually expand and expand until whatever remaining residue of that last life pulls you slowly back, gravitates you more and more. Come back to the world. But it'll only come back to the world if you can embody. If there is no world, there's no embodiment. Then we have to wait for another era. Another yuga, cycle of yugas. 1,000 yugas maybe. We won't notice the time. We'll go back into that absolute, vast, undifferentiated oneness. We won't notice anything because there'll be nothing left to notice. We'll be so merged. From the ego vantage point, is well, who would want that, right? That's like non-existence until you come to the place of the secret of all secrets. You are always in that place, existing, in the fulfillment of yourself. That never, never goes away. I know because for a moment I rested in the infinities of this universe, in a timeless moment of presence where the whole universe was moving in an accelerated way. I was watching galaxies form. I was watching stars collapsing. It was for me, it was like just complete fulfillment. So I know I've been alive, I've been this state that's with me has been in existence before existence. And of course, that's the Supreme Being. So we have really nothing to lose and everything to gain by sacrificing what we think is so important to us, so cherished. Because ultimately you will get there, but otherwise you'll go into not knowing. That's why Krishna says, one who knows this secret knowledge has no more births. There's no more a necessity for a birth. There's no motive for a birth. There's no, because you're birthing all the time and all that births. This whole world lives for Ananda, and Ananda can only be experienced in the body. It'll change its vibrational field. It'll become more energetic. It'll become subtler, refined without a body. Because there's no separation. Therefore, no need for devotion. The field of the sacredness is fulfilled devotion. Only in this body can this be known or felt. The second thing is to keep in remembrance of your own experience. I can't tell you, I've been getting notes from people who were very, very close to me, who were holding tremendous energy, and it's all gone for them, utterly, completely gone. They've lost access, totally, absolutely lost access, and have decided that I'm the worst thing on the planet and I should be destroyed. It is the nature of this journey that there are forces at work that are playing out in all of us, that are much older, much more ancient, far beyond human history, that are playing out through each of us in our own little ways, our little grievances, our little judgments, our forgiveness and our acceptance, our wisdoms and our condemnations and our projections. We ourselves are the empty space that has a body, and it's being lived by thoughts that are not our own, by feelings that are not our own, by drives and fears and projections that are not our own. We're simply the embodied space, the presence in which these are arising. Even the sensations of the body are not our own. Finding that quality of yourself, that which is left over when everything is gone. Think of the nature of scientists creating a vacuum. They have to work hard to make sure there's nothing there. And that's what outer space is, absolute vacuum. No heat, no water, no light, no air, no existence, absolute vacuum. Now that's a harsh way, that's the physical world, but in the vacuum of consciousness is the supreme, is the absolute. When that becomes embodied, then you know everything, oh, That's the thought today. That's the mood today. Oh, look at that, my old story coming up again. It automatically becomes the consumer of that which separates us from our universal nature. It automatically eats that which is not aligned with truth. Okay, I know I went too far.
Yeah,
No, it's a 2 hour? Oh,
can be.
oh, good. Good. Now I can hear from you guys.
That's the idea.
Yeah, we have a whole nother hour. God, it's been a while. So this will be interesting. So what I want to do is invite any of you who want to come up,
Oh, no.
put yourself on the table. Or can we do this? Oh, wait a second. Technically, are we okay to have?
We're doing it.
Oh, I was just informed that
We can do it.
we have yet to get the equipment that would allow us to continue to do this hot seat while we're doing a program. So
Oh, but we're on Crowdcast. We can do hot seat, right?
yeah, so he thinks he can do it. Our wizard, Idananda wizard.
Wait, what? Okay.
And we have a
We're
microphone.
upgrading. We don't have a,
He has a microphone right
we
there.
have a mic that's working. Okay, good.
Okay.
All right, so what are we doing?
So
You got all excited.
yes, yeah, because now it's about you. So this is the opportunity to bring forward anything that arose for you around this. I mean, in part to share, or to add, or to contribute something in your own journey, or to ask questions about what's going on for you at right now. Obviously, in this space, whatever you bring forward will be able to be seen in a light that's greater than any light you carry by yourself. I'm not the agency for that. I may be interacting with you to help you recognize what has come to you, but it'll be you who will bring forward a possibility for yourself that perhaps otherwise wouldn't be accessible at this moment in time. So we'll just, those who want to share, just put your virtual hand up, and Wendy or Idananda will bring you forward and we'll interact. And then let's do it for the larger audience at first, and then we'll bring forward some here in the physical audiences here.
All right, first up is Kali Ma.
Kali Ma. Hello, my dear.
Hey, girl.
Namaste.
Hey,
Good to see you.
namaste. I can't see you too, so I think I have to change my view. Oh, now there you are. Yeah, hi.
Hi.
And hello, everyone. Yeah, I have kind of I think a brief share, but I think maybe it's the approach of that World Mother program, but the unconditional love is just pervasive, the field of unconditional love. And coincidentally, yesterday we were in chapter 9 of our Gita study. And, and everybody was saying, I'm not in chapter 9, I'm not. And I was like looking at them and I was like, yes, you are. It's like the radiance of the being is so apparent. And then last night, we were in our world peace meditation and somebody facilitated very beautifully. And I was transported back to a former time, which I know happens for some of us sometimes, like my young womanhood. And just this beautiful healing and compassion extended back to her. And I'm still just enjoying that feeling, just basking in it. And everybody I interact with as I listen, I just realize unconditional love, it's the only path forward. Everything else is just an error, which I encounter all the time, the self-judgment, the condemnation, or whatever. But you said that, I think you just said a few minutes ago, it's like it's transitory because of the duality. So you said it's the duality that brings an end to duality. So, I watch people come and go with you, and I watch people what looks like betray you, and I can't say that I won't, because what do I know? I hope I never do. But I can see how that all unfolds as part of the plan also, you know, that bigger picture. It's not mine to judge what their path is, why they come and go. It's not mine to judge my own path. But the truth is here, and it's in both of you, and it's also in the Sangha. The error is also here. You know, we have to encounter that and work our way through it. So, yeah, I'm actually willing to have things be exactly as they are.
It is the right attitude. Kalima.
That's a very, very powerful statement
Yes.
to make in front of the Sangha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, you know, in that conversation, who's to know what their path is? We
Yes.
don't know that, you know, when someone is with us for a long, long time and all of a sudden just falls off the tracks.
Yeah, people with very high levels of attainment, or like Satri said, that carry something so powerful, and then it seemingly explodes, you know.
Yeah.
And but it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's good.
So-
You know, in the collective right now, we have forces that believe in the United States that they're here to democracy is in crisis and that they need to take action to prevent it. And they exist on the right side and on the left side.
Yeah,
Both have the same mission to restore
Yes.
democracy from different paradigms. Neither are wrong.
exactly. It's so fervent and always justified, and
Yes.
that's Prakriti. That's just the way it is.
That's just
But,
duality. It's the nature
you
of
know-
how this gets ultimately, hopefully, resolved in unconditional love. But until then, collectively, we're nowhere near that place.
Yeah, and that's fine with me. But for this moment, I'm very happy to be here. And, you know, the opportunity that you've made possible is really extraordinary. And I forget that sometimes because I'm in the day in, day out of it, you know, but it is quite extraordinary. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kalima.
Well, and I'm glad you spoke to the Mahananda, because the World Mother is going to be exactly about that. And it was great that you spoke at length, because I know I saw Sachigita's on here somewhere. We're going to cut that piece out that you spoke and put it up on the website for anyone who's interested about what the topic of the World Mother online is going to be in March, because it is going to be unconditional love, the next step. Wow, that was beautiful. Thank you.
All right. Very good. Adi Priti, Adi Devi, excuse me. Adi Devi. Oh, how radiant you look.
Whatever name.
My God, my dear, how much you've changed.
Oh, thank you. I'm confused about what you said about devotion. I thought that was I don't understand how I could have aspirations, surrender, service, or anything without devotion. And my belief, I guess, or my worldview, or whatever you want to call it, is that this all of creation property is the expression of devotion, of the supreme devotion. So I'm confused when you say
The
there's
only part of you
one.
that's confused is your mind. You're absolutely in that state of devotion. You've been in it for years.
Yes, but
And it has created a worldview. But in the mind lies the trauma. In the mind lies the judgment. In the mind that lies the doubt. So if you could just know that this confusion is simply the mind doing what it loves to do, is figuring something out, imagining there's something to get.
okay. Oh, okay.
If you've already gotten it, then of course you're going to be confused. So,
Well, I was with Adi Da back in
yeah,
the
I know.
90s. Yeah, and had to leave him because he became very dangerous to me personally, and it, really bad. And but I missed that, what you talked about, that blast of ecstasy. You know, he'd look at me and I'd just swoon and fall over or whatever. Um, and to be very honest, there's a part of me that still would like to have that again because there's nothing like it. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
That's the human in us who wants to have the thing that it thought it was the thing back then again. So it's a trick. It's a trick of the consciousness. What happens with these blasts, there's usually evidence of a transitional event where you're in one consciousness and lifted suddenly to another consciousness.
Mhm.
But after that happens enough time, enough doses of heroin, then then it becomes your normal, right? So you're probably in the state of devotion you're in because of your ability to receive what Adida transmitted, but now you got it, it's saturated. And your path forward
So
is more
it's
towards
not
truth, more towards discernment, more towards not mental understanding, but discernment that comes with the clarity of when our awareness taps into that absolute truth that we are.
so it's not so dramatic anymore. It's just a,
Yeah, it's lost its energy, but also your vital system can only keep it up so long, right? You can have only those experiences for so long, and then after a while, the body just says, enough, enough, enough.
yeah.
Takes
I
a
would
break.
actually think when I saw him and he was about to look at me, I would think, oh no, not again.
Yeah, right. Now, I had that happen to me in my first awakening without a form for months and months and months, where I was just like, please, just give me a break. This is like wonderful, but too much. But after a while, the system just kept expanding to it and expanding to it. Fortunately, she came about once every week, so it wasn't all at once all the time, so it was able to be integrated. But the principle is the same. This is still in duality. This Shakti transmission is still in duality. That's Prakriti. This is higher Prakriti, Mahaprakriti. And so all transmissions that can be felt in the body are still in the domain of duality, so it comes and then goes. Comes and then goes. Because everything in this dimension is temporary, and unless we're constantly recreating it, it falls apart. So what you're looking for now is that which does not change. The I amness of Adi Devi, that central quality, because it's there that you find the unconditional love. It's there that you live in a field of the Maha-Ananda, fulfilled absolutely in a body, because that's the fulfillment. In the body, it can be experienced. In the subtle worlds, when we don't have a body, it's not the same. There's no knower there. There's too much merger. We lose our I separateness. It's only here that we can develop, we can hold that because we have the body. Once that has established itself, then there is some residue of that fulfillment, but the nature of that fulfillment is so vast and so huge that you can only appreciate it in each moment when something else comes up that's different than that. So there's nothing more for you to get, nothing more for you to seek. There only is a discovery of what is already there. Adi Devi, the first goddess, the first one who knew her nature from the subtle worlds, is a naming of what you're trying to still complete the embodiment of. Adi is the first. For you, the Devi you got, now is the Adi, to know the unchanging principle, the eternal quality of your own being. That's the biggest problem with almost everybody with me. You don't know what you are, right? You don't know how much you've already attained. You knowing that is the fulfillment of this work. And you're constantly having to remember that. You constantly forget it, and then you have to remember it. And that's mostly what the journey is. Because after a while, the body will say, oh, I guess maybe I am sacred. Maybe I am divine. Maybe I am this thing. I certainly feel better being this way. All right, my dear.
Thank
Good
you.
to see you.
So Adi Devi, where were you when you were with Aditya? Were you in the Bay Area or?
No, I moved to Seattle to be with the community there. And I
Okay.
was with him when he came to the Mountain of Attention
Oh, yes.
during the Ananda,
Probably,
the
you
Love Ananda
probably,
Gita period. Pardon?
you probably know the couple that we're speaking about. They live here in Washoe Valley, but we've known them for 35 years.
Oh, I didn't finish that story either.
No, you
you
didn't,
didn't.
Bruce and Susan. So,
wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we meet Aditya people all the time, especially in Tiru. So a lot of people are still really connected.
Mm.
Amazingly so.
So,
I think it's a good base, though.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I met with Bruce, and he's got a condition where he's in the second year of 7 years. So he's got 5 years left. And today, yesterday on the beach, he was walking, and we sat down and talked. We talked about his death and his relationship with his system, losing control of his limbs and not being able to speak and having days where he's completely incapacitated and he has to use a cane. And it was a wonderful, free exchange of two souls who have shared a great deal. In that moment, sitting on a bench in Washoe Valley Lake, next to Washoe Valley Lake, on a beautiful, calm, sunny day in the middle of winter. It was like a grace that just came and brought us together. And there was something eternal in that moment, something ancient or wise, like two souls meeting themselves on the subtle world after their lives are over. There was something eternal in that moment. Just to share that. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Lisa Stone.
Look who's here.
Wow. Look who's here. Lisa. Good to see
So
you.
where are you?
She's in a white room.
Oh
And
my
she's black.
God, I'm on top of, I wish. No, I'm in Boulder. I'm in my little Boulder urban apartment here,
Oh, you're back in Boulder. Okay.
which I won't go into now, but well, it's wonderful to be here. I can say that. Um, so, so what I wanted to share or ask about is my experience with what I would call the subtle body being very much alive for me when I was, I would say, in my former life over 10 years ago. And this natural capacity for receiving information, feeling energy, being connected in a lot of the ways you're describing today. And then having all of that change due to conditions in my body, to where my body now has been in this process of becoming what it feels like much more dense. And I don't have that same experience of a subtle body. And there's like a grief in that, you know, because it was so wonderful. And I also get that this part of the journey is very purposeful. Although sometimes I lose connection with that and it can feel, you know, like I'm very much in dejection about it. So I guess, and the other piece anyway, I'm curious what you have to say about it.
Yes. So remember, our journey is through multiple lives, and our body usually becomes the holder of chunks of experiences and structures from our past that can only be resolved through the body in this life. So what you have what had come to you is true and it hasn't gone away. But now you're meeting an arena that you have not met in your past lives, and it is obscuring you and your ability to access the subtle domain. What you do have is your awareness. You do have the natural delight. You do have that sense of freedom and giddy girlishness that allows you to keep experimenting, exploring, and discovering life. And I do feel that this is where you are and this is where you need to be for now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the structures of actions we've taken in the past where we're overtaken by the forces of our circumstances, or even then subtle plane forces, have consequences in the domain where bodies occur, domains of duality. And therefore, there comes things like illness, disease, or collapse, like my friend, no longer able to regularly, anyway, access the tremendous forces that were running through his system for many, many years. And it's it is the kind of, you might say, the final frontier in the journey. What is it that comes with that? Each of us have our own piece of that. Is that ultimately we let go of anything in us that would want it different.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the doorway to unconditional love.
Mm.
So there's something in you that's still resisting, still not wanting it, still saying no, still feeding that story. And that's probably why it's not gone. Probably why it's not gone. The ego is in us, the part of our ego which is linked to the body, which is preference for pleasure versus pain, of diminishment and of sickness and illness, has associated with it quite a few dark forces in the vital and mental plane that is trying to prevent you from moving through what it is that would otherwise be able to be moved through fairly quickly. So it creates negative stories, it creates diminishment, it creates all of these. So the dejection itself is not wrong. It is actually an appropriate response, because the only way we progress on a battlefield is the yoga of dejection. That is, we learn to be with the dejected state. We actually use the dejection as a doorway. I'll talk about this tomorrow. It is how we pierce the veil that separates us from our full, complete freedom. So your dejection is your entry point. Feel it in your body. Recognize whatever thing is hanging on about it. Be in the space of yourself when you do so that you have the strength. And Lisa, it supports you to participate, so you have access to this energy to help give you a perspective and to strengthen you when you're not able to be. It's a self-created structure. That's why it's hanging on.
Yes, it's like, it's so deep. I mean, there was, it was, I don't know, when I was living in Washoe 4 or 5 years ago, and there was an interaction I had with you, which you reflected this about like I cursed myself, basically. And it feels like that. And it is so like operating below consciousness a lot of the time that it feels so insidious, like it's hardwired in. It's really hard to wake up in it.
So I free you of your curse. You are free. Just remember this. It is no longer necessary, it has no function to play.
Thank you.
So whenever it rises again, just think of me. Think of my promise. Think of my statement. It's a statement, it's not a promise. You are free of this curse, self-imposed curse. Now, what will be your life?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I need this. I need you in this way. Thank you.
Next up is Joyti Priti.
Yeah,
Hey.
get it, pretty. Hello, my bundle of delight.
Good to see you.
It's good to see you. It seems like it's been eons.
Yes.
Oh, wow. What you just said, talked about with Lisa and the other people that have been up, I am so grateful for everything that I learned from everyone and grateful for everything in my life. I'm just coming to that point and it brings me such joy. And from there, I'm in love with the entire world. It feels like it's this inner joy and gratitude that gives rise to the love that is there, present for everyone. And I see this through the astrology charts I've been reading, and I'm learning, I'm just feeling more of the stellar and planetary energies just filtered through the physical body. And every person is the same in their larger selves, but they just have these filters, that these karmas that they're running through, and they all have a purpose. They're all taking us to the ultimate goal, which is our realization in the truth of who we are. That's what I'm learning and feeling, and it brings tears to my eyes when I listen to you and you put into words things, concepts that I'm dealing with a lot when I do astrology charts, but it's hard to put into words. And I still don't know if I can as well as you do, obviously.
I'm not sure for you, Jodi Priti, words are necessary. You're a demonstration of your name,
Yes.
you know? So the delight, the perfection of the delight, it is unconditional love on steroids, in fact. And now you're discovering the vastness of the universal wisdoms through your work with astrology. I mean, it is the modality that's opening you up to recognizing and understanding the universal forces that run us human beings that we actually are completely unconscious of for the most part. So you're tapping into the same vantage point I work from. That's perfect.
I could be like studying astrology for lifetimes and really not know the vastness of what we can learn from
It's your state of it's your state of attainment. It's not astrology.
yeah.
Astrology is just the structure that's allowing you to know what you've come to. My father said this to me when I did his astrology chart. I asked him, so what do you think, Dad? He says, I don't know about astrology, but I really know about you. So it is really the miracle of it. Astrology itself is simply the structure. What you've become is the truth of what people seek.
Yes, my prayer is that I'm able to bring forth that so they can get a better understanding of who they are as well.
All right, so I've got a message for you. You're already there. You're already doing it. You're doing it for all of us here who can receive you. You're already there.
And everything else.
You don't need to do anything more. You've gone through all that I'm not good enough your whole life.
Yeah.
You don't know how to be where you are. I'm good enough. I don't need any structure. I don't need astrology. People will find me and I'll be with them from this state and they will be enriched and supported and nurtured. What more is there than that?
Wow.
No, yes. So it's I'm just speaking the truth. you're the one who's still doubting it or hesitant about it. So the getting over that part of you that questions it isn't about you going anywhere. It's about continuing to be in the light of what you're doing right now, in the recognition that something larger than astrology, larger than you, larger than the person you're with is doing,
Yeah, living you.
living you.
Yeah.
And then that becomes your ordinary. And then we get to meet like this, and you get to be in touch with the fullness of that. How great! What more do you need?
Reggie, pretty. I mean, what you exude now is calmness.
Really?
The contradiction to what you would think. Yes.
Absolutely. I mean, I've known you how many years now? How long has it been?
Yeah.
Here and
2017, 2016.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's calmness. That's what I'm experiencing with you.
Yay.
It's from
Yay,
that
I
the
know.
joy arises. And the joy for you, because of your nervous system, is hard to hold any other way than the way you're holding it.
That's beautiful.
All right, thank you.
And I want to know how your son is doing. How is Mr. Sean?
He's doing well. He's working hard, and he
That's
has
his
lots of things that are providing lots of challenge for him right now. So
Oh. Tell him we send out love.
Yeah.
I think of him a lot, especially when I'm in this building, because this was
okay,
his
I
idea.
will.
Yeah, this came from him, the idea of this. So we don't forget that.
Yeah.
All right, my dear. Thank you. Namaste.
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 Next up is Philip.
Philip.
Hello, Philip. Namaste.
Hello.
Good to see you.
Yes, good to be here. And I even was dealing with the technology and again, but it was because I couldn't get any coupon to work. And so I thought, well, I'll just pay another $15.
Oh no.
Yeah, cool. That was easy. That was easy, and you're welcome to it.
Thank you for the donation.
Yeah, thank you for the donation.
Yeah, so that's cool. Hey, welcome. I'm glad from Olympia.
Yeah.
I always appreciate your references to Olympia.
Yeah.
I love my community here. And I really, there was last summer you were talking about in one of the courses, you were talking about how valuable gratitude was. And it feels like to me that I've really been experiencing gratitude and curiosity as together kind of really, really potent as opening lots of possibilities.
It's a delight of being.
In terms of being.
Yes, the delight of being has come to.
And yes, and it's like I mean, I feel my body. I mean, I'm 71 now, so I always used to be the youngest person in the room or in the class or whatever, youngest in my family and so on. And now I'm older. And I notice it in my body some, but as I'm living in gratitude and curiosity, it seems like issues tend to melt. I mean, they aren't issues. And even the challenging issues of today's politics and what's going on in the world, it's just be with it.
That's right.
Be with it as it is.
When the being comes forward, all these positionalities, these worries, these reactions, these projections quiet. They quiet. Not that they're gone, but they quiet. And if you cultivate an attitude of gratitude, of appreciation, then it comes more naturally to relinquish those things, to not let them take over and run you, continue to run you. And it's not something we do, but it comes out of the right attitude. And in there comes much, much more freedom. So it's our willingness to be able to be in our higher states, to continue to remember to be in gratitude as a spiritual practice, as a, where can I find something to be grateful for here? This begins to build a foundation for a different place to stand than what you might otherwise be habituated to. This includes stories about yourself and your own self-judgment, your own sense of diminishment, to begin to see, where can I be in gratitude here? Where can I be in appreciation for what is arising? We determine the vantage point. We can choose one or the other. By choosing, even when there's no kind of foundation for it, we open the space to intend to shift the paradigm of where we are into one that's more aligned with truth. The principle of the for the highest good means, where is the good in this? Is a shifting that you create, sometimes, oftentimes, out of nothing, which maybe in that moment not seem to have the impact, but sometime, some hours, maybe a few days later, it's gone. It is a movement that we make in terms of how we look or be in relationship with things, a choosing. That which chooses gains in strength the more we align to that which we are devoted to that which we know to be sacred.
And
Therefore, gratitude is actually simply what happens in the course of living, rather than the course of having to create a shift in attitude. We just become more and more grateful, more and more appreciative. And that's what
I, as I live in that energy, it just feels, the presence of grace becomes much more tangible.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, it's clear. It's clear, Philip. All right, thank you. Thank you, my friend. We have to move on.
Thank you, Philip.
Namaste.
hey,
Next up is Elizabeth.
All right.
Elizabeth.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste, Satsang. So good to see you.
Good to see you
Good to
too.
see you.
Um, um, I'm a mess actually, and I don't know where I'm heading. And I have this feeling I'm kind of falling off the wagon. And
Thank you. Thank you. I accept your gift. I hold your mess. Be the mess.
it's very hard.
There's nothing to do here. It's the grace is always already with you. It's just something has arisen, or some things have arisen that are testing your strength in being connected and staying connected to the grace. You have no obligation to what happens outward. You do not have to believe what your mind or your emotions are telling you.
Yeah, somewhere I know it, but it's so hard to. I have the feeling I keep choosing the wrong attitude and hanging in negativity and depressed feelings, and my body is falling apart. Yeah.
Yes. So I suspect you're taking this on. You know, when we open up, then the universe wants to fill it in with whatever is the current unmet content around you. So you end up taking on other people's negativity, making it your own, because there's always a match. And then being overwhelmed by taking some degree of responsibility for it. Thinking somehow I'm at cause here, or I am at blame here, or I'm doing something wrong. And that is a very, very normal part of the battlefield. If you can recognize it, this is something that's happening to me, but it is not me. It is arising as if from some other place, from some other truth than the truth of my being. Then you can begin to burn what comes to you rather than perpetuate it. So you spoke of I am the mess is an experiential event in your body, is it not?
Yeah, there's a lot of hot flashes and heat, and yeah, not being able to stay with it, zooming out. And I really don't want to, but it's just, it happens to me.
Yes, I understand. So where specifically in your body are you feeling the mess?
It's around my heart
In your heart.
and my stomach area.
So it's attachment. It's attachment. Coming through, you're attached to something there in the heart, and then associated with the attachment is I'm doing something wrong, or I've done something wrong, which is in the third. And what's between the two is your own sense of self-worth, which is feeling very unstable right now.
Yeah, usually it isn't, but it is right now. Yeah.
Right. That's right. Last time I saw you, you were very much in your authority. So clearly something has come up, something that due to your attachment, you're taking on as if, without thinking about it, taking it on as if it was your burden to hold, to probably relieve it from someone else that you're attached to. And unwittingly finding the match in you that is then coming up in this kind of full flower of your diminishment and your confusion and I'm the mess story.
You know, you're a woman, and it's natural for us to take these things on as a woman and as a mother, to take on other people's stuff as our own. It's like hard not to do that.
Yeah, it's totally impossible, I feel.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, if I get a call from my daughter with something wrong, I immediately feel the clench.
Yeah.
And then I want to make it better for her.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like
I've got 3 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Elizabeth, you did the whole GTP program all the way through 3, correct?
Yeah.
Yes. So is there someone in the group that you can, have work as a mentor with you, so that you've got someone, if you can't write the Satri, that there's someone else that you can be in contact, be in dialogue with?
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly. I could think of several people. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Good. And it would be good to go back and listen to some of the sessions to kind of tap into the quality of being an authority that you had there. Because it will, these can very simple things, replay the recording, can restore your access.
That's a good way. That's a great.
Because you listen to yourself leading some of those groups. Listen to yourself in the mentoring sessions you conducted.
You know, what you want to do is put yourself, go where you felt the strongest, where you felt so connected to yourself and to universal. When was that moment? Like where in the GTP3, like Satri says, a talk where you were leading a group? Bring that back. Go to that and listen or have a conversation with someone. It will help you ground back into your body
Yeah.
in place, because you want to bring that back, because
Yeah.
you haven't lost the connection. You're just veiled for the moment. And it's
Yeah,
not-
when you
Go ahead.
speak of it, I can immediately feel it again. So that's,
There you
you
go.
know,
There's your
yeah.
access point. You know,
Yeah.
this is what chapter 9 is all about. It's a direct experience, which then you forget. So you have to go back and bring forward again that direct experience. This is what prepares us for the devotion to land and stay with us. It is because we become a conscious collaborator with our own divinity. So it's also a calling you up to what you are.
Mhm.
Well, it's also, it's like losing weight. You think you've lost the weight and you're finished. But this is the same thing. It's like you're constantly having to call yourself up to it.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
that's really, it's really helpful.
Good, good. I can
Yeah,
feel,
I can feel
I
that,
know your
yeah.
devotion. I know you're in devotion. This is rising up as a means of strengthening and embodying it more deeply.
Thank you so much, both of you. Thank
Oh,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Love
for
you.
bringing it forward.
Love you
Love you
too.
too.
Namaste.
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 Next up is Maggie.
Here she is.
I see you. I see you.
Hi.
House is calling your name.
It's been a long time.
Yes, it's been a long time.
Good to see you.
Feels
Really
like
good to see you.
ages and ages from here.
Where are you? Are you in Nevada City or yeah, you must be, because you would, I was going to say, you can't be in Hawaii.
No, I did just move, so I'm in a new house.
Oh, you're in a new house. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I didn't really have anything I wanted to accomplish.
Wordless, a wordless moment, an exchange of recognition. We can just,
Yeah, the topic is clearly part of my experience, but it doesn't feel important.
yeah, what's that?
I guess it's just the experience of all that separates. There's so much. It feels like there's um the experience is so convincing, and I didn't um I had known it, but I'd never um it had never come inside like this. And the transformation process is just so different than everything leading up to it. And it's altered my participation in such an extreme way that I just hadn't, it just wasn't in my purview, I guess.
So did this arise from a fear or negativity or repulsion?
It just felt maybe like a series of like overload in the system that opened up these experiences in the lower domains or subtle
Yeah.
thresholds. They're not part of my constitution or my nature. So it's been just a radical alteration.
So is it things like rage or anger or
Mostly powerlessness or suffering,
the other side?
the collective ancestral,
Overwhelm.
the peril, but
Yeah.
it's the Thomas, of yeah. And I guess the part that where it feels most convincing is just like the wasted opportunity or like being aware and knowing, but it's like suffocated.
So it's a
Or
match in your own experience. That is you, of course.
yeah,
You, young, being
yeah,
overwhelmed and suffocated in powerlessness as a young girl. And that recognition of that is that piece of what's going on in the collective is in part a projection of your own trauma. Yes, you're right. You could say that truth is being defeated and the things we need to do to correct the world are not being able to be handled. But this is the important area for you. The only territory where you have any authority is your own personal match of that.
right.
And where are these in your body? You feel them in your gut. You feel them in your second chakra. You feel them.
Yeah, I mean, it's physically it's strongest in my neck and throat, and that I'm sure
Okay.
the head part of but it's
Yeah, being heard, not being heard. In your heart being broken, not being able to make a difference, contribute, an anguish. And then, of course, the powerlessness, the hopelessness. Yeah. So clearly, this is not yours only. You know that, of course, Maggie. But I do believe that your life is about grounding yourself, about bringing yourself down into the first and second chakra as a refuge from what's now coming up for you. So it's clear that this is a quantum of experience, perhaps not from this lifetime, that has been brought into this lifetime, along with your awareness, where you're aware and you're powerless or helpless to do anything. And usually this occurs when people at moments of death where they're not ready for it, sudden past lives of trauma at the moment of death. And then they come and repeat themselves this life in an attitudinal orientation that is, constantly gets in the way of us being in this life fully and freely. So you are in that dimension. This is your work. The part of you that gets overtaken by it is the part of you that you need to come to greater authority with. And that means remembering yourself now. It means tapping into the resource you've become this life and not be, in order to meet that remaining part of your structure, only enough to know and release it, not giving it any authority to continue to define what you do or don't do. Because it'll really always come down to action. The resolution is what actions you take. When we start taking actions that are aligned with coming out of a trauma structure, that's when we're at the tip of the spear that penetrates the veil that we've unwittingly perpetuated. Standing there and piercing that veil is a process of being present in your body and enduring as calmly as you can for as long as necessary, as if forever, what's happening to you. No relief, no other option. This is it. From that place, you'll pierce this veil. It's good for you to be engaged actively in spiritual work, spiritual service. It's important for you to be serving others as well in the process of them, because you're going to need this current to be able to flow regularly through you rather than isolation or holding back. Because the current is building and building, and it's wanting to put you to work in larger and larger dimensions of the collective. And you need to be able to release that current enough for others, for you to find the right balance, for you to grow into your capacity as a universal being. And one part of that is our relationship. One part of that is, right not far away is Washoe Valley. One part of that is those things that you know that also, in their own way, create the overwhelm because it's a veil that has not yet been pierced. It is like a death, by the way. Just like a birth has to go through the membrane. Transitioning into a new state of consciousness is a dying. And the way we meet that is by being willing to die around this as it comes up. To be with it and let it seemingly be in the defeat, but with this intent to pierce it. It's a paradox, because any part of you that's wanting to pierce it will prevent you from piercing. And we don't do that. The universe does that. We just put ourselves into the cauldron and something greater than us takes over. It's in moments of peril that the greatest powers come to support us in the intent we've aligned ourselves with. All right, my dear. We love you. We're there with you.
Thank you.
Love you. Bye.
Next up is Sigrid.
Sigrid.
Sigrid. Getting ready for India.
Yes, getting ready for India. Definitely, and lots of other things also. But what happened was that when you were speaking to Lisa and you freed her from whatever it was, it felt like
yes.
It felt like you were doing it for me too. Something clicked in me. There was something happening, and then a lot of energy just was everywhere. Yeah. So
Good.
I think I just wondered if that was what happened, if my interpretation of it was right. And
an intervention. That was an intervention. An intervention is only possible if the person is willing to receive it and another willing to give it. And that usually call forth each other. So when a person's dejection is in a certain point of ripeness, when you've been in that defeating quality long enough, then the intervention comes. Now, in the case of Lisa, it was on the screen, but it happens within us where the grace comes at those moments of peril. And it does for us what we can't do for ourselves. You are free of all curses, Sigrid, including your self-created one, which is the source of most of your curses. You can stop doing that.
because I also felt like there was a lot of power coming through in that moment, and that I could finally strive for what I long for.
Very good.
Yeah. So I guess I'm just I'm thankful that I chose to be here today, and that it all ended up to be this way. I'm thankful to you.
Thank you. All right, Sigrid. Safe travels. And I know
Yeah.
there's more for you in India.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.
And next up, we have Brian.
Hey, Brian.
Brian, namaste.
Good to see you.
Namaste, Satchri and Satchamani. I just felt I wanted to connect with you guys, just send my love and gratitude from Edinburgh, and just basking in this precious opportunity to be here this evening in Edinburgh, this morning for you guys, or afternoon.
Yeah. It's great to see you.
Yeah, it's great to be with you.
I hope you can make a program this year, if it works out.
Definitely want to do something in person. So feeling that pull. Just the experience of being here is just wonderful. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Brian,
Thank you, Brian.
for this moment. Namaste.
Namaste. Perfect.
And what I didn't do is call for one of you from the room. So we're going to extend the time a little to at least have one or two of you come forward,
If you want to.
if you wish
It's
to.
not required. There's always tomorrow.
All right, Robert. And now we'll see if it works or not. Namaste. And there's the microphone.
I don't know if you heard the talking stick or the session I had with Durgama, but I'd like to, if you did, I'd still like to
Yeah, go ahead. No, I
unfurl some of that, because that's what's up for me here on this visit. You invited me here, which I'm grateful for, because I had a little meltdown on the air once and I couldn't speak. And I came here, and soon after, in one of our early meditations, I had this sensation of my body being an empty box, in a good sense, like an energetic box, my neck being a rectangular box, and my head a square box.
Kind of boxy.
Yeah, but the square box and the rectangular box were retracted down into the body box, like one of those spray bottles where you have to pop it up.
Oh, yeah.
And I realized that energetically, that's why I've been so bottled up and shut down my whole life, is because somehow all of that was down in there instead of being up here.
Yes.
Where it belongs.
Yeah.
And
what was the experience of that recognition?
Well, in the moment, it was very abstract. It was just this interesting, energetic thing. But then when I had the session with Durga Ma, I started getting into the emotional side of it.
Ah, very good.
And it was like being in a turtle. And my father used to call me Turtle. And what I'm realizing is that there's a lot of feeling that has just been, it just has nowhere to go.
Just held.
And that also, I'm doing the chanting now with Satartha. And it's coming, it's giving me a nice toehold in the chakras. Good. So there's like places I can go that I haven't really been before.
Got it.
So I'm getting a sense of having stacking up inside myself. But what the chakra thing is doing, interestingly, is that once in a while when I feel emotional, I actually have a little singer inside of me. And when I stop doing the chanting and the kind of drone, 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 drone thing, which is good, I actually want to be musical. So what I'm feeling now is that what I wanted to feel coming up here is that I can just speak to you, speak what's happening with me.
And you're doing it perfectly.
And not having to go into emotionalization about my plight.
Yeah.
And just presenting myself.
Thank you, Robert.
And
I mean, it's the song sings us.
I'm getting the tastes of that. The tastes.
That's the musical. Is that? Yeah, there it goes.
So it's coming, and I just thank you both.
We're so glad to have you. Thank you. All right, does anybody else like to come forward? I know you, Archana, but I want to give our little lady. Welcome, Janet.
Thing that I always forget. Well, my hand went up.
You didn't have anything to do with that, did you?
No, I was kind of doing the dance of what would I have to say? Da, 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 you know.
Yeah, all that stuff.
So I don't really know what to say. Maybe I'll say that since I've been here several weeks, it's been
up and down.
Totally. And I'm reminding myself that the downs are what you want to see. So congratulations.
Yeah.
But I had a thing this week after when you were talking, I guess it was Tuesday, about the future humanity, and kind of unwinding where we're going and what's happening with the world. And I was feeling it all here, and then you said everything ends, and that really hit me. There's an end to everything.
Yes.
And somehow I took that up to the hill there, up on top, and everything just opened, like the anguish of that really opened into the earth or whatever, and my heart. Anyway, long story short, I allowed myself to feel that for a while. I came back, I laid down, I kind of did a little bit of a thing in my heart, and I woke up and there's all here, it was all light blue, just tingling and up. And it felt like a different part of my heart, the higher part.
Right. And it was rising.
Yeah, right into
up.
the throat.
Yeah. And what was your experience?
Just the energy of it and the color, the color of it.
Okay. As you speak of it now, what does it feel like?
It feels like is it a joy?
Yeah.
It's almost hard to say that.
Oh my God, can there be joy?
Is it okay? Is it
Yeah.
okay? Is it, it's, I know it's my thing, but is it okay to allow joy?
Very good. Very good. So that's what opened. It came out of the anguish and the desperation of the way things are and the hopelessness and all the forces who seem to be being the good. And you recognize all things end. That too. And you had freedom. It's a glimpse. It comes like this. And it had affected your whole body. And it was something you knew. You had the time to move into relationship with, to show you something that's already in there, that's full of this joy, of being alive now, as enough.
Enough is good. I would take enough.
Yep. It's also sustainable.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess I know sort of, I just love the practice, or what you've been encouraging people is to just
Stay with it.
be in that.
That's right. Meet it in your body.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you're getting the lessons. You're learning the way forward.
Yeah.
Good work.
Thank you.
Namaste. Okay. Tomorrow. Tomorrow. And tomorrow. And tomorrow. So
Tomorrow we get to pierce the veil.
So tomorrow we do the the next stage of this inquiry. We'll be spending 4 hours or so together, or 5 hours. And we will look to put this into applied practice for you as a means of actually engaging yourself in this universalization of your nature. To take it where it hasn't been before and to discover the nature of the territory you're traversing in the immediacy of what's happening to you now. All right, so that said, let's complete with a silent sitting. Be aware of your breath. Be aware of the energy in your body, the nature of the pressure or sensations, the energetics of your subtle body. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat Sat Shri. All glory to the Supreme. May truth, love, and grace manifest in all your lives. Namaste.
Namaste.